Bethesda decided to surprise us on April 22nd, 2025 with an Oblivion Remaster on all platforms, nearly 20 years after its original release in November of 2005, and it's safe to say, I am super excited for this. Skyrim is one of my all-time favorite games, and just like anyone else who interacts with a piece of media that they adore, I went out of my way to find more of it and did encounter the original Oblivion and played that for a few hours. Yes, I did install some graphical and overall gameplay improvement mods, but even with those, the game felt, well, like it released in 2005. And that's okay, because underneath the clunk, I did see something beautiful, but simply something I couldn't bear to play, as I'm just not the biggest fan of old games that I didn't play when I was younger. So when Skyblivion, a mod that would recreate Oblivion into Skyrim, was in the works, I was actually very excited as well. Don't get me wrong, Skyrim can also be quite clunky, but it's bearable for me as I do have the nostalgia for those mechanics. But a full-on remake by Bethesda of Oblivion in Unreal Engine 5? Yeah, that wasn't on my bingo card. I said remake because by the looks of things, as I'm writing this before playing, this is more than a graphical remaster. Gameplay touch-ups, a new leveling system that's between Skyrim's and Oblivion's, new voiceovers, but also the OG memeable ones, fully remade visuals from the ground up, so no simple HD texture mod, but it's licensed by Bethesda and we call it a remaster. No. Real, from the ground up, redesigned models, a combat overhaul with a dodge button, and the ability to sprint, on top of all the DLCs and of course the gorgeous Unreal Engine 5 visuals. That isn't a remaster, Bethesda, that's a remake. Now only one question remains. Should you refund this $50 Oblivion remaster / remake? As this is my series where I tell you if you should refund a game in 2 hours of in-game playtime, probably better known as the Steam refund timer. A game should be good straight away, not 10 hours in. So, let's see what the Oblivion Remaster is all about. For context, I'll be playing this on PC, specs in description, with a controller. It's just my preferred way of playing, but it's important to mention as it could impact the way the game is enjoyed, but I won't let it weigh too much in my final verdict. I'm not being funny here, right? But if this doesn't get you excited to play a video game, I do not know what does. The epic music into the main menu, that looks very clean by the way, I absolutely love it. The game continues its trend when starting a save file with an epic scene of what I understand is Oblivion and a cinematic shot over the main city with the Emperor stating that these are his final hours of his life. Straight after that, you're thrown into character creation, and can you tell I have a little bit of stick drift? Surely not. Anyway, I chose to go for a wood elf as that is what I like to play in Skyrim, and even my IRL D&D character is an elf, an assassin to be more specific, but oh boy, is this character creation overwhelming to me. That is not a negative per se, but more that I personally prefer some more simplistic character creations, as I always feel like spending way too much time to get a character I'm actually happy with, and personally, I don't really enjoy that process too much, but I did eventually end up with this character, Verity, named after a character in a book series, and if you know which one, let me know down below. Also, whilst you're down here, leave a like to help me out and subscribe as I'm trying to get to 1000 subscribers by the end of the year. Once you created your character, or well, creature, as I've seen some horrendously disgusting designs online, and I'm sure as hell some of you guys are just like that, you start off in a prison with some random guy across from you chatting shit before the same emperor from the intro comes into your cell, because conveniently enough, there so happens to be a hidden exit in your cell and the emperor needs to use it, and as they can't really close it off, they just let you go. Sweet. Although, one curious aspect about the emperor is that he somehow has seen me in his visions. That must be some good stuff my man is smoking. Once in the tunnels, we get ambushed by some cultists and the captain gets conveniently killed for us to loot him. And I think this is peak game design. The American peak, not the British one, as I believe a tutorial should be natural and not do A, do B, do C, congrats my G. No, Let me pretend like I figured things out myself, but in reality, everything you encounter is so conveniently placed that it is there for tutorial purposes, but it's not forcing you to do so. To make this a bit more concrete, you can loot the captain to get some weapons and gear, which you then need to equip through your inventory, which shows you stats, and then eventually, once the Emperor and his men have moved on, you got to fight some rats that do very little damage. TLDR, the game teaches you to loot, use your inventory and simple combat in the span of a few minutes without the need to stop you in your tracks. 10 out of 10 tutorial design here. This continues on once you go into the new area that has opened up by the rat, that has a conveniently placed chest sitting in the only bit of light of the dungeon that requires you to lockpick. So the mission now is find a lockpick to open the chest, which I was able to because I looked around and found a slain goblin, also indicating there are goblins around most likely. The goblin had a lockpick on him, so I went back to the chest to open it up. Now, here's the thing. I definitely didn't mess up the lockpicking at first, had to reload the save file to get them back again, retry and then open the chest. That didn't happen. No, I did it first try, trust me. Yet again, a natural tutorial on how to lockpick and even a little bit on you having to explore every nook and cranny to find items that could help you on your journey. I also like the spell that shows you which way to go. I don't know if that was actually in the original as well, but I for sure really do appreciate the feature, as it's easy to get lost in some of these dungeons. Throughout the dungeon, you also will find pretty much every type of weapon. I chose to use the bow and arrow with a dagger to complement my assassin playstyle. Let's talk combat. If you are looking for an in-depth combat system that has many complexities to it, you're in the wrong place. Elder Scrolls are simple hack and slash games with little to no true mechanic. Sure, there are some tactics you can apply and movement does matter, but there's not that much depth to it. And I do think that is fine for these games. To me, Elder Scrolls are more about exploration, the journey, and stories that are found within the world, and the combat is very sufficient for it. Would it be nice to have some more complex mechanics? Sure, but I still haven't found that dodge button I heard people talk about, so I guess the complexity must be there somehow. But there's another point that I find even more important: the feel of the game. Like I said earlier, I thought that the original Oblivion felt really clunky, and Skyrim to an extent as well. But this game simply feels like an improved, slightly more floaty Skyrim. Is it on par with Elden Ring or even Monster Hunter in smoothness? Not at all, but it's a million times better than the original, and quite frankly, feels pretty good to me. And the floatiness I was talking about is more so when you jump, you genuinely float a bit, which I don't have any particular feelings about, so it's really whatever, but I can't wait to Skyrim my way up mountains again. Once you clear the first part of the dungeon, you link up with the Emperor and his men again, which I definitely didn't try to kill, by the way, but he then dropped some lore on me regarding the Prince of Destruction, the Kingdom, Oblivion, and us having to bring this amulet to a hidden sun that only Joffrey knows about, and asks about your birth sign, which will give you a special ability that you can use once per in-game day. I picked the Shadow as it allows me to be invisible for 60 seconds, and that is perfect for the elf assassin I am. After all that, the Emperor gets taken out by an assassin, and my PC by the performance of a Bethesda game. Yeah, so if you spent any time online, you might have heard of the performance of the game, and so far, it was actually pretty good. I was getting constant frames, barely any frame drops until this happened, and it crashed my entire game. I did actually go on Nexus mods before playing this to get some tweaked engine settings. I will link these in the description down below, and I do generally think that they helped me on top of the setting you're seeing on screen right now, which pretty much got me from dropping random frames to not dropping frames at all. So I would highly recommend turning this AI frame render thing on. Once the assassins were taken out and you catch up with the now commanding officer of the dead Emperor's guard, you have to pick a class. The game gives you a suggestion on one based on the way you have played up until that point, but you have free choice of what to pick yourself. In the grand scheme of things, I don't think it really matters, as it simply gives you an early game buff to whatever playstyle you want to apply to yourself, but it is a nice thing to get you started on your journey, in my case as an assassin, and to not overcomplicate this leveling system, as it is and isn't at the same time, Every action you do, like shooting a bow, is tied to a skill, which in the case of bow shooting, it's marksman. And with every successful hit, you get some experience towards your marksman level, and with every skill level, in this case marksman, you get experience to your character level. The higher marksman level, the better abilities you unlock for it, like the ability to aim or stun your targets, and the higher character level means better stats like health, magicka, and endurance. We will get back to the leveling system in a little while, however, as we first need to make it out of the sewers. We fight some more goblins and rats, loot some chests, and make our way to the iconic end of the sewer system, and are asked if we are okay with our choices made regarding birth sign, class, and even character design. Which I was, but it's still a nice thing that the game does so. I think it's time that we address the gorgeous graphics. I'm playing this on Ultra with pretty much everything turned up to the max, and oh boy, this game looks absolutely stunning. At this point, I didn't turn on the life-saving AI frame setting yet, so there were some stutterings, but they did a fantastic job with bringing this world to life with the graphics and overall visuals. Look at this reflection on the wall, dude. It's so sick. And yes, this is also the first game I'm playing on my new higher end PC, so I might be a bit biased. Let's rewind from the wall glare, however, as I was ready to explore the world before getting distracted by the first dungeon I saw, cleared it as a whole by being a satisfying assassin, looting everything that I could find, and emerging outside again. I decided to play this game the same way I played the original Skyrim for the first time back in the day, as at the time I might have not known that fast travel existed. Like, I knew about the carts, but I did not know that you could just click on the map and travel somewhere. I was 14 then, so please don't flame me. Actually, do so, because comments are good for the algorithm, they say. So that meant that my journey would be walking everywhere, and honestly, what a choice. Besides me enjoying the amazing visuals of the game, you also come across the most random things like this Hestra runestone that turned my bow into an enchanted dagger. I don't know if this is meant to happen, but it did very much confuse me as I went into the city to find a shop to buy a new bow, before it turned back into my actual bow. Confusing, but sure. Even at this point of me recording this voiceover, I still don't know if this is actually a glitch or if this was meant to happen, as I did have a knife equipped beforehand, or a dagger in this case, and it just taking my bow and overriding that, I don't know, but it is really whatever. It was quite funny. The city, by the way, to me at least, this is very confusing. I couldn't really find a general store or a blacksmith to sell my stuff at, but I did find a hotel to sleep at, and actually level up my character. So unlike Skyrim, where you can simply open up your skill tree and level up, in Oblivion you need to sleep, and I don't know how I feel about that. There might be a way to do this on the fly that I haven't figured out yet, but whilst it feels immersive in a way, finding knowledge in your sleep, the flip side of it is that it's just kind of annoying. I just want to improve my attributes. These attributes will improve your damage, restoration, carry weight, etc. And you have 12 points to divide over these attributes that are relevant to you, which all give various buffs to various skills as well. Very simple, but it does the trick, as I got kind of sick of these overcomplicated leveling trees up on skill trees, up on weapon trees, up on armor trees. Simplicity is key here to an extent. I continued exploring, found a fisherman who wanted skills from a fish that took his leg and also attacked me earlier, couldn't find it for the life of me, went on exploring again and found a submerged fort that was guarded by an imp and that I obviously had to explore and loot. There wasn't really anything special here, but I did find another fort not far from there, and the overall dungeon design kind of looked similar to the first one, so I skipped it. Same thing with the dungeon I found after that, looked similar in style to the first dungeon I cleared after the sewers. This is not the biggest problem. I mean, Skyrim had cave dungeon galore, but I do hope that the style switches up once you get into different parts of the map. And after clearing that final dungeon, well, I needed a quest to do so apparently, the timer went off and one question remains: should you refund the Oblivion Remaster? If your IQ is above room temperature, you probably would have guessed that I really enjoyed my time playing this game. I usually write notes for these scripts whilst playing, and I barely wrote down anything during this playthrough as I was simply having too much fun. I'd say the intro sequence in the sewers does drag on a little bit too long, and if the visual designs remain the same throughout the world, which I doubt they will, it would be a slight negative too, but honestly, This is everything I hope for an Oblivion Remaster to be. To me, I always wanted a second Skyrim, and Oblivion is regarded by some to be even better than Skyrim. And with it being 20 years old, the original that is, I never really saw it. But playing the first few hours of this game, yes, I might have played a few more after this recording session, I could see it happening, and I'm excited to explore even more. On the topic of that, the exploration is fantastic. You constantly get distracted by dungeons, NPCs or other points of interest. You want to do A but end up doing C instead because someone needs help, or you find a fort that interests you because it probably has secrets hidden within it and probably good loot as well. The leveling system isn't too complex. It would be nice to have a bit more choice in the various upgrades you can make to your skills, kind of how Skyrim has their upgrade trees. It would be nice if the abilities would allow you to focus on the set options there are. Like right now you're unlocking everything in order, like aiming and then stunning, but it would be nice if you could make your own choice. But the flip side to it is that the simplicity makes it easy to pick up the game, and even if you haven't played for a little while, you can easily jump back in because it's not like you have to relearn complex systems again, it's just kind of there. The overall mechanics of the game feel fine. It's nothing game changing, but it feels smooth enough, and the combat is simple but does feel satisfying. If you're someone who enjoys a bit more of an in-depth combat system, this game might not be for you, but if you're anything like me, who loves to dive deep into a world, get immersed in its lore, and pretend to be an elven assassin, or an orc warrior, or whatever you want to be, you should for sure pick up this remake. Yes, remake. So should you refund the Oblivion Remaster? Absolutely not. If you did enjoy this video, leave a like to help me out, subscribe if you're new as we're trying to get to 1000 subscribers by the end of the year so I can monetize these videos, and let me know your opinion on the game, which other ones you'd like to see me play, and my name is Chev, and I'll see you guys in my next video.